All right, happy Pegasus week, everybody. Happy Eclipse Awards too. It's a big Thursday here in West Point Nation. Jason, Tommy, and Joe. Tommy, I know you're chilling out at mom and dad's place, a little south of me. Of course, as soon as I start talking, dude, you got to come over here. It's a
Jake.
special Pegasus show. We got Mr. Jake, but I'm glad you guys are in Florida. Good chunk of the team's in Florida. But it's good. It's good seeing the both of you, Tommy. Everything going okay. The trip south was okay.
Yeah, coming down here was awesome, and before that was out at down in New Orleans. My maiden effort to New Orleans and the fairgrounds, and was a great weekend for West Point. All of our partners there, and you guys watching this had a great time hanging with you. Obviously, the win with Reagan's honor was spectacular. I think that jump he took in his second start and stretching out was awesome. And I think you guys remember he was always, we was well thought of since day one, and it was nice to see him put it all together and win like that. And the other two, I thought, feeling groovy. I thought she had that trouble right out of the gate. Really, I think summed up the race for her. It was tough to recover from that. And then Reagan's wit, I thought, coming off the long layoff and to be able to make up a little bit of ground on that turf course and run some horses down was great. And I think that's going to be an awesome race to set him up moving forward for the rest of this year.
Joe, you're holding court down at the Hampton Inn. Amazing chocolate chip cookies that are on the house. I think post COVID, you have to ask for them. They used to just leave a tray out, but that is a Jason Blewett pro tip if anyone's staying at the Hampton Inn across the street from Gulfstream Park. But along the lines, Joe, of Gulfstream, Tommy was holding down the fort at Fairgrounds. My neck of the woods, Statesman. In the cold light of day, I might even say ran a little bit better than maybe I would have predicted going into a pretty tough A other than.
Yeah, first I was going to say if there's anybody to take tips on sweets from, it's Jason Blewett. That's outside of horse racing, that's probably his greatest area of expertise. So definitely heed that if you're staying here. But yeah, I thought he ran great. I thought like at first blush, I thought the Chad horse was going to win by more. And the fact that he didn't made me think, well, is it not as good of a race as it looked like on paper? But then I saw the figure, he was pretty well clear for third, especially off the layoff. I thought that was just a great foundation piece for him for this season. And I didn't really know what to expect, honestly, because last year he had the two big races at Tampa. Other than that, he hadn't done a whole lot of running. So it was great to see him outside of Tampa off the layoff run big. And yeah, pretty exciting horse. Could be a stakes or graded stakes horse for us later this year.
Yeah, Shug's pretty confident coming out of the race. He said, "Oh, he's good. He's sitting on a big season, got a 90 buyer." So yeah, good job by Shug and his crew getting Statesman ready. In terms of just the weekend here, naturally Gulfstream Park with the Pegasus and the stable having three horses, actually coincidentally all Shug turf horses in action. We do have some other runners throughout the country. And good luck to everybody from Superpower up in Maryland. You got to like Crystal Clean, who's always consistent, just pretty tough Calbred. She's gonna try her luck again on the grass. She's already won the A other than on the dirt, but due to that condition clause out there, gets to run back on the turf. We'll see what the process does. Still trying to get him through a two other than allowance. I don't know. Part of me wonders if maybe not all that far in the future if things don't work out the way we want them to. Maybe a drop in class might work well for him, and we'll see what Army Man can do out there as he tries to go 9 furlongs for the second time. In terms of tonight, guys, I mean we've got that beautiful banner. That's one of the things I love most about our website. I mean, there's a lot to like. It really is first in class, and the partner experience is first and foremost. But I do love we win a stake. That individual winner gets its own banner. But this Super Corredor Eclipse, Eclipse Award type deal is pretty sweet. Joe, how we feeling? How we feeling about tonight in terms of her winning champion 2-year-old filly?
I feel good. I don't think it's a lock. I think we're probably like 80-20 to win if I had to put odds on it. I know that the medallion people were, drumming up support for Sci-Fair. I think ultimately winning that I think winning the juvenile fillies is going to outweigh anything that filly did. She also had the blowout maiden win. From some of the ballots that I've seen that people have posted, the majority of them have us in first. And so, yeah, I don't think I think there's going to be like a little bit of anxiety until they officially announce it. But I think at the end of the day, we'll be up on that stage.
All right, here's to that good thought. And at the end of the day, legit two turn dirt race. With extra emphasis on two turns on the dirt in the juvenile fillies. Hope I'd like to think, even though we have a dog in the fight, I'd like to think, even in this day and age, that and no disrespect to Cy-Fair or the other finalists in the mix there. Cy-Fair put up a solid season, was good in the turf sprint, but I'd like to think that the classic race on the dirt is always going to just outweigh a turf race here in the United States. So let's get to it, guys. We'll focus in on our three runners Saturday at Gulfstream. Tommy Murphy. In fact, mom and dad are partners in Battle of Normandy. So who better to send it to? He'll start the West Point action a little after 12 noon Eastern in the third. Uh, is a mile maybe a little short of his best, perhaps, but all in all, I think this is a pretty good spot on paper. What do you think?
You're right. I think it is. Like you said, the first thing I thought looking at this race was maybe a mile's a little too sharp. There's a couple horses in here that I think are, a little bit better at, a true mile. I look at Mibago, who was in really nice form early last year on that turf course at Gulfstream. The horse is lightning quick, but you can see he's kind of fallen out of form in recent years. But it's always hard to count out Irad in spots like these. So I think we're going to have some speed to run at with him up there. Um, Looking the Brennan Walsh horse on the outside too. Clever Mischief. I know this is second off of a pretty lengthy layoff for him. I know we're coming off with Battle of Normandy a layoff of about a year to the day when he last ran at the Pegasus. But Clever Mischief's a little intriguing to me when Brennan Walsh and Tyler team up. Usually something good happens, and I see it all the time at Churchill. I see it all the time down here at Gulfstream. He's a horse I'm going to keep my eye on, but at the end of the day, I think if Battle of Normandy can run back to that form he had in 2024 when he rattled off those four wins in a row, especially looking at when he won the River City. I was down there for that race, and I think that was just the culmination of a great season for him. But if we can get him back to that form off the layoff, even at a mile, maybe being a little bit too short. We know how tough he is. We know how tough his younger brother Cugino, who we're going to get to a little bit later, is. So I wouldn't put it past Battle Norman to be coming off the layoff firing for us.
All right, good spot. Welcome back, Battle. Can't wait to see him in action in the third. And Joe, as we fast forward here, and by the way, as I fast forward, nice seeing race 5 named after the late Christophe Comont. Was this the Swanee River? I probably should have looked that
It
up
was the La
before.
Prevoyant.
La Preveant, who he probably, I mean, Christophe, God rest his soul, probably won, a dozen times and then some in his career. So, certainly it hit pretty hard when I downloaded the PPs and was kind of just numbering them and scrolling through. Not far from any of our thoughts, that's for sure. But Joe, as we fast forward through and move on to Ohana Honor, I have a couple of thoughts which I'll set you up, but real fast. I normally probably wouldn't include the Fred Hooper unless we had a horse running. In a way, Joe, for me, I think aside from the three horses we have racing, I I, I kind of think the best matchup on the day is this Life and Times against Knightsbridge. Like I am really excited to see both of these horses square off in the Hooper. I'm a big fan of both of theirs.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think usually this race is kind of an afterthought, but yeah, those two horses are super exciting, especially Life and Times. Like, so it's pretty bizarre. Like he makes his debut in November of his 4-year-old season, and then to run two big races like that, and he was flattered. I saw someone posted there was a workout video of him and Accelerize. And Accelerize just won the Louisiana Stakes, beat Just a Touch over the weekend when Tommy was there at Fairgrounds. And Life and Times smoked Accelerized in a workout at Palm Beach Downs. And yeah, I mean, this is the kind of horse that if he stays together, because obviously he's got some physical issues that, prevented him from debuting until very, very late. If he stays together, this could be a very, very interesting horse and scary horse in the handicap division. And, Knightsbridge is obviously getting a lot better as well. I agree with you. This is a race that really caught my eye when I was scrolling through.
Yeah, I mean, throwback's probably a little too strong of a word here. Just this kind of match. It is Pegasus Day after all, but to have these two, what is this? A grade three race? Yeah, this is like a little bit of old school racing vibes there. In a non-grade one. So yeah, the Fred Hooper is a must watch, as is the race immediately after it. In terms of Ohana, Joe, I think it's pretty incredible, right? I mean, you think about Shug, his legendary training career, but the fact that forgetting about anything else, like as 6-year-olds purchased as yearlings out of like the late summer, early fall yearling class of 2021, we still have Battle of Normandy and Ohana Honor, not only racing, but I like to think running at the top of their game with maybe a little more runway for both horses in terms of just achieving new heights. That is pretty awesome. And what are your thoughts about Ohana and just a race that came up with all due respect, I think a little or maybe a lot tougher than the Knickerbocker.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he was a heavy favorite in the Knickerbocker for a reason. I thought he would have to have some serious traffic trouble not to win that race. Not the case in here. I mean, this is a pretty wide open field. Obviously, I'll be rooting hard, but I would not take 5-2, which is the morning line on Ohana. I just think there's too many other contenders in here. Missed the cut, awfully naughty, Balnikov toward the outside, Devin Propo, Hammerhead even from the 12 hole coming off that
Hmm.
huge race. I just think there's so many different ways to go, and I never mentioned our old friend Zverev as well, who's in there. Big another Mike Maker reclamation project, but I think to your point, I was thinking about it the other day, like how cool it is. Battle in Normandy coming back as a 6-year-old, Ohana Honor coming into his own as a 6-year-old, integration as a 5-year-old. A lot of exciting races ahead for him. We think he got injured, but Dripping Gold would have run and probably won some stakes as a 7-year-old. Like there's nobody like Shug that gets these horses good, as they get older. The one thing I would say with Ohana is like I do think we're kind of still figuring out what he does best. He did have the big 1.5 mile win at Keeneland last or 2 springs ago. He's run well going long, but he's also run well going 1.125 miles. And I think that this race, it's worth a shot as a grade three. There wasn't another graded stake going shorter on turf other than the Pegasus turf on Saturday. So, it's obviously worth taking a shot. But I just wonder if like long term, maybe like the Fort Marcy or something like that might fit him a little but we're going to see.
Yeah, we are going to see. It's funny because I don't disagree with anything you said. Although I've been pretty bullish on this horse. In large part because of his races, say between 11 and 12 furlongs in the past. Like, oh, longer the better. But as we've shared through Shug and Flavian after he got off him in the Knickerbocker, Flavia was pretty adamant. And you were there, Joe, for the Knickerbocker. That maybe less distance is more his thing. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. We all love Ohana, flashy horse. We've got you think about us being in a position to have, three sons out of Adorable Miss with Essential Charm, who's at Tampa and training well, and then the two brothers, half brothers, running Pegasus Day. But in looking at the Mare Spacey Tracy, Joe, we've also got a Chapman, the New York bred, waiting in the wings. And you're the Mark Cassie whisperer on the team. It sounds like the vibe with him up in Ocala has been just phenomenal so far.
Yeah, he's amazing, and we saw him in person when we were down in Ocala for the yearling showcase. Like just the amount he's grown since we bought him as a yearling. Like just the fact that we got him from the New York bred sale to begin with. Like if he were in a June full, I think he would have been in the select sale and probably would have cost twice as much. So yeah, he's turned into a real beast. Probably going to be pretty patient with him just because he is so big. And bring him along maybe later in the second half of the summer. But yeah, he's hit every mark so far, and just he looks like an absolute freak.
All right, here's to him taking after his older brother Ohana, and good luck to our 6-year-old there in the McKnight. First Pegasus race for the gals there, the Filly Mare Turf. Still not a grade one, but no surprise this time of year. I mean, with the domestic turf horses that are in training, you've got a big field. Everybody kind of throwing their hat in the ring, trying to get the top prize. The Pegasus races will be split by the inside information. In in my racing career, probably my third favorite filly of all time. My top three: Sky Beauty, Heavenly Prize, and Inside Information. So always happy to see her name. It might not be all that often anymore, but yeah, she was amazing, and it's scary to think that the Phipps stable and Shug had her and Heavenly Prize running at the same time. And then we move on to the Pegasus Turf. Joe, we were talking before came on, and I Tommy and I have not heard your thoughts yet, but off the bat, you've got a full field here. There was a lot of talk, in terms of Sunday afternoon with the draw, post 10 for Cugino. Your thoughts, please.
Dude, I love it. Like, there's a long enough run going into the clubhouse turn, and like the main thing is there just doesn't seem to be a whole lot of speed in the race. And I think Cugino's best trip is when he's stalking, when he's sitting second, third, or fourth. He obviously has a big late kick, so he can run anyway. But I do think that that's his best trip. And other than Cabo Spirit, like who is definitely going in this race? You got a couple other horses with a little bit of speed who could maybe show from the inside, but Cabo Spirit's the only one that I know is going to try to go to the front, and we're outside of him. That's the most important thing for me in these races, to draw outside of the main speed. So, maybe he goes three wide into the clubhouse turn, but I think he settles into the two path down the backstretch. I don't think Cabo Spirit is quite this class. I think he gets first run on the closers. And hopefully, with one fewer stride last year, we would have won. And hopefully, Cugino can hold on. But I was really, really excited about the draw. I know, like with wide draws, people kind of viscerally are like, ugh, we're going to lose ground. But in this case, where there's not a ton of speed, I love it.
And he's so handy, Tommy. And good horses are supposed to just show up race after race, no matter the trip, no matter the post, no matter the ground condition. And I mean, outside of, maybe the debacle, fairly, what turned out to be fairly late in his 3-year-old campaign, shipping to Kentucky Downs. I mean, this horse has been a gem of consistency. And, Tommy, one other thing that Joe just touched upon when talking or mentioning Cabo Spirit, just the overall, like for, in a very general sense, class. I I gotta think. I mean, outside of program trading, who's probably going to be 9 to 5 or so, there might be a little bit of a chasm. Might be a little too emphatic, but I feel like program trading and us, and then almost everybody else, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, you can just look on the paper and it kind of jumps at you. With company these horses have kept, specifically program trading, looking at his past performances, I mean, it's almost a who's who of, some of these older turf horse divisions. And right there, you see notable speech, back from the Breeders' Cup, Formidable Man, a lot of these really nice horses. Obviously, our own integration, back in the Virginia Derby, beat him.
And we beat them. We beat
Yes,
them.
yes, we did. So hopefully we can emulate that again with Cugino this time. Let Shug do it again. But the two of us, and then like you said, there seems to be a little bit of a gap between the rest of the field in terms of how they all stack up in class. But like Cugino's form, outside of that one clunker at Kentucky Downs, you know what you're going to get from him every time. You know he's going to show up. You know he's going to put his best foot forward, I should say. And last out, running second by about three-quarters of a length to a track record-setting effort from Wolfie's Dining Ghost. There's no shame in that. You can see he ran a 99 buyer. He was right there. And I think, like you said, Joe, you said the speed on the inside, I think is going to have really set up great for us. I was thrilled while looking at the draw, seeing we were the 10. Obviously, we have my all-time favorite jockey, Johnny V, in the irons. I think just about no one better in the country going along the grass than Johnny V. He just so good at getting these horses out of the two pass, just stalking, 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 and then pouncing. Like Jason, you said, being able to get first run at the speed, turning for home, I think is going to be the name of the game. And I do want to mention it because I saw that you had it circled when Cugino broke out of the 12 hole back to Transylvania in April 2024. Just lost by nose to Neat that day, but I think that just goes to show that this outside draw shouldn't impact him as much as maybe some people initially had thought.
All right. Good luck, Cugino. Well said, boys. And man, we've been close. I thought we were going to win it 2 years ago with integration, his first crack, and then he got kind of bottled up against that really talented Coolmore Aiden O'Brien film. What Magical Wand, maybe her name was. I can't
What was it,
remember her
Warm
name.
Heart?
Warm
Warm
Heart,
heart.
that's who it was.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, superstar, world dominating, globetrotting filly, and then last year, that tough photo with integration, just getting nipped by Spirit of St. Louis. So third time, here we go. Third time the charm with Cugino in the mix. Before we say goodbye, guys, would love to get your thoughts on the Pegasus World Cup, the dirt race. Full field, good betting race, depending upon Joe how you feel. Now, I'm a fan. I saw this horse via simulcast win the Dwyer, and being such a Judmont lackey and nerd, I was like, oh, I got my 4-year-old on the dirt next year. I mean, where do you stand with this disco time and just looking at the Pegasus dirt race?
Yeah, I mean he's the horse to beat pretty clearly for me. The only thing I'll say is, I think he's going to have to run like that race in the Lecomte. Like there's just so much speed in here, and he drew the rail that as good as he is, I don't think he's going to be able to go to the front and hold off all the speed and still win the race. I think Flavian's going to have to take him back and make one run. So if he's able to do that and run those big figures coming from off the pace, I think he's going to be very tough to beat. But there's just so much speed that I wouldn't take him at too short of a price. I think that White Abario, every time I think he's done, he pops up and runs another big race. And I think that's going to set up for him. Banishing isn't impossible. I'm looking for closers in this race just because I think that, I can't imagine this pace being any slower than like 46 and change to the half.
Okay. All right. Tommy, Florida Derby winner to Pan Street. Any thoughts on him? One of two and major players in the race for Cox. Very workmanlike, I will say. I was not impressed on the eye test of his comeback race December 19th, and came up relatively slow. I mean, could he be a horse that takes a step forward looking at his win on this track against Sovereignty?
I think it's certainly possible. He's pointed out to him beating Sovereignty, who obviously went on to have a pretty historic run last year as a 3-year-old. Like you, I wasn't all that impressed visually with his win coming off the layoff, but credit to him for still being able to win off the layoff. That's not an easy thing to do, but I think this is a pretty big jump in terms of coming off of a layup, second off the layoff to this class of field. So I, I'm going to be interested to see where he stands. He's 6-1 on the morning line. If he floats a little bit, I might be tempted to play him, especially if he can have that similar trip to like he had in the Florida Derby, being a little bit further back than, say, he had been in some other races. But another one I'm caught my eye was Captain Cook. I think if he can run to that race that he ran in the up at Saratoga, or he just ran his eyeballs out, if he can find a way to run back to that form at 15-1 and it's that duo again, Pletcher and Johnny V. Can never count him out in these big races. He's one I have my eye on, maybe at a price, depending on how it all shakes out.
It's probably, in fact, it is irrelevant in regards to his test Saturday, maybe being a live long shot. I still cannot believe that horse was favored over Barnes last time out at Keeneland. But guys, by the way, Barnes's half sister by Flightline, the Dream Flight, continues to do some nice things up in Ocala, as is the case with pretty much the entire yearling class. So a lot to look forward to in the immediacy. Again, good luck to Super Corredora tonight on Thursday. Hope everyone has a great Friday. You guys will be at the happy hour tomorrow, right? At Gulfstream?
Oh
You
yeah,
know.
cocktail hour is my middle name, Jay. You know that.
Absolutely. Let's go. I'll be drinking water as usual. I could use to loosen up. Maybe that's probably a good New Year's resolution for me. I'll start that tonight. We'll continue tomorrow through the weekend, but it's going to be great. The dinner tonight, the award ceremony tomorrow with the happy hour, and then huge I mean, we really have WPT Nation converging on Gulfstream Park. Not sure what the final head count is at this point, but it's dozens, dozens
Yeah, I
and
was gonna say it's
dozens.
gonna be
So
measured by
Yeah.
dozens for sure.
yeah, so I glad to have all you guys in town. Looking forward to seeing you in a few hours. And yeah, we appreciate everybody hopping on. Enjoy the Pegasus. Good luck to all of our horses, both here in Florida and nationwide over the weekend. And we'll catch you next time.